All right, moving on now to the second video for the booster build. We're going to start by talking about the components that are going to come with the kit. There is a power supply, and it will be like this, and you're going to plug it into the wall, and then there's going to be this little piece right here, just like a computer. You're going to plug this into the booster, and that's going to power the entire system. For those of you who are outside of the US, first of all, this comes with a US plug, a US 3-prong plug, and so anybody outside of the US will probably have to get some type of an adapter. Now, the system is, it can run from 100 volts to 240 volts, so you don't have to get an adapter that changes the power rating. You just need to get one that adapts the plug itself so that it will plug into the wall. So that is the power supply. And then we have, this is, of course, the foam roller and a couple bearings and the spur gear that we're going to be putting on in a minute. We'll take that out of the bag in a minute. And then this guy here is the rest of the components. There's a motor in here, there's a bag of screws, there's the power supply piece, and there is the speed control, and then of course the motor, and it has a heat sink on it. But it comes with some screws already in it, and then this pinion gear here to power everything. So let's go ahead and get those things out, and let's go ahead and get started with the motor and getting it started here. Grab this last piece, and to make it easy, you just take that off, and let's get these screws undone, and then we're gonna get this installed. So the tools you're gonna need: a small Phillips screwdriver, a pair of pliers, a pair of needle nose pliers. I think that's a 5mm wrench, or 5mm hex wrench. This is a 3mm, and then this here is a 10mm socket. And then also, I always have these with me when I'm working on stuff. This is just so I can cut pieces off or trim them if need be. Those are the tools. The motor's gonna, before we do anything with the motor mount, we have to put a nut in here. So let's go ahead and pour these guys out. And there's all kinds of little stuff in here. Try not to lose it. But this piece right here is what we're going to put in this hexagon hole right there, okay? And it's probably just easy enough to just put a bit of glue in here and slide that in. It will sit on its side, and then just slide it in like that. And then push it in. And that's how that gets installed. And you want to do that before you put the motor in, because it's really hard to get to when the motor's in. So make sure you get that in first. I'm going to push all these things off to the side here until we get to them. Now the next piece is we put our motor in. There are the two holes, the two screw holes that we'll be using to mount this all together. And grab one of our screws and put it in here and just screw it in. Now you don't have to like really wrench on this very hard. Just tighten it up so it's nice and firm. Give it a good twist, and that should be it. You know, you don't have to like wrench it so this goes and, you know, sinks into the wood. Just nice and tight. It's not going to go anywhere. And there we go. Okay. And now, like I mentioned earlier, see this little, I don't know if you can see it right here, but there's this little notch right here. So when I build them to be sent off in the mail, I always put this little piece in here because it just saves a lot of motors from being broken. And I'm going to put some glue in here and push it in place like that. And there's the motor mount. We're mounted, and then this will be putting on and off, but keep it together with the motor. It's going to be going like that. All right, there's that part. All right, the next item, let's grab these two little pieces and grab this one again. And here we're going to apply a little bit of glue, and we're going to drop one of these on the corner, just like that. Put a little pressure on there. Okay, so now what this is going to do is it's going to help with this. So go ahead and let's open this up. All right, this is going to be a stop for this piece right here, so it doesn't move very far. We don't want it to move very much, and it usually takes two. So I'm going to put the second one on already. See if I can pick it up. All right. So now that piece is ready to go. And then let's get our bearing holders out. Those come off. And then these are just going to be pushed in here. And they should just push right in if you've done it right. If there's too much of an overhang or it wasn't lined up very well, they might be harder to press in. And you can tap them in with a little tiny hammer if you want to, or something like that. But they should fit in like that. Oh, sorry, there was one other tool that I'm going to use, and that is a file. And I use the file to go down in these little sides right here, because I need this to be just a little bit wider. And so take your file and let's just run it through here just a little bit. And something like that. Maybe again. And all this is making the channel big enough so that it's easy to put in. It will go in without doing this, but it's pretty hard, so this is just a lot easier to do this step. All right, there's that. Let's test it out. Let's grab our box, and these are going to go in here and slide down. So you want them to be able to slide very smoothly like that. So if they're a little tight, just take a file to that and they should slide right in. So there's those. Set those aside. And now we're going to start working on it. Let's do it. So we grab this, and we're going to now put the motor mount in. And I'll take this off again. But the motor mount goes down inside like this. You just put it down inside here, and then it goes all the way to the bottom. Oops, let me get these things out. goes all the way flat to the bottom, and then these two pieces go right here in these slots. You see the slot there and the slot there? So those two slots are going to line up down here, and then it's going to move this away. And this is why we want to make sure that, you know, that glue is not hanging up, you know, not sticking off to the sides here or whatever, because it will make it hard for this to be moved around, and we don't want that. Okay. And so that's the first step to get the motor mount in. And the next step is to do this. You get your 5mm screw, you run it through, you put that little spring on it. It will then hit the hole, match up the hole where the nut is, and then we're going to tighten it. And then we just get our screwdriver and tighten that baby down. And at this point, I'm going to screw it all the way down so that it pinches the spring all the way compressed. So you can see the spring in there. I'm going to keep going until it compresses all the way down like that. So now, if you look down this little hole right here, you'll see that that spring is completely compressed. And we need to do that so that we can get this other parts in, and then we're going to back it out just a little bit. This is the next item we'll put in. This is the power inlet for everything, and this is where the power supply will plug in. So let's get this in here. It goes in the bottom hole, and just slide it in like that. It has this little nut that goes down here. Put it in, and then get it tightened up. Try to get this one nice and tight. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge. I usually use this set of pliers right here to grip the front, and then these guys to tighten the nut this way. Like that. And now those are in, and now we're going to open this up. We'll just open this up here and get this out of the bag. And then this guy, this is the speed controller. It's got a couple pieces in here. There's a little washer. The little washer we're not going to use. You can throw it away. And then right here, this guy, it has a little bit of a nub right there. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully that will come in the picture. And I'm going to clip it off. I don't want it in there. So just clip it off like that so it's flush. And that's just going to help as we do the install here. And then I'm going to grab my screwdriver and back all these screws out so I can put the wires in. So there we go. Before we mount it in the box, I always put the wires on first. And so here's the DC in. So this is the power one, this little guy that is coming from out here. And we're going to put it into these two blocks right here. And if you can see, there's a really small plus sign, a really small negative sign. For the plus sign, we're going to put the red wire in and tighten it up. And then we're going to take the black wire and put it next to it. And just make sure there's no little strings or anything stretching across here. You don't want that. You don't want to put this in so far that the insulation on there gets in the way. So So you just want to be able to get that in there and then tighten it down. You know, you don't have to wrench it too hard, but make it nice and firm and get that in there. And then we're going to do the exact same thing for the motor. And you can see here, here's the motor. Again, a plus sign, a negative sign, and we're going to do the same thing. So we'll start with this one. These have been tinned, so they should go in pretty easily. And we'll tighten that one down. Both the black wires will go to the front and the red wires to the back. Like that. And let's do this. And then I'm going to pinch these down a little bit. And I twist it just to keep all the wires kind of down and out of the way. Slide it into place like that. We'll put our nut on and take our 10 mil piece here and just tighten that baby down so it's firm, just like that. So now it's all set for that. Get some of these wires just out of the way. And that is that piece right there. Now we need to put the foam roller in, and my fingers are all dirty, that's why it's getting dirty, but anyways, just be aware they probably look a little nicer when they get to you. All right, we're going to take one of the bearing holders and we're going to slide it on this end and make sure that the bearing, where you can see the entire bearing, is facing away. We want to do that for both of these. So here's the bearing, it's facing away from the foam roller. Okay. And then we're going to slide this guy so that the orange goes that direction, like that. So that is kind of how we get this aligned up, and then we're going to drop it into the booster box. And then one thing I want you to try to do is make sure that you push this all the way through so that this guy is touching the shaft is touching this outside wall and go in like that. There we go. And then the next thing we're going to want to do is make sure that this orange piece is not rubbing against the wall. If I push it in, you can hear that, right? So now just back it out a little bit so it's not rubbing, just like that. And then we'll get this and we're going to tighten these screws. Now this is important. Be careful when you're tightening these screws right here. These, you do not have to wrench these down. They just need to be tight. You know, where I'm not pressing much pressure on it at all to put that on. But because they're opposite of each other, they're pressing against each other, and it's giving a good grip to this gear onto the shaft, all right? It doesn't need to be super tight. If you do it, if you over tighten it, you'll break this piece. And then we got to ship you another one. And that's not, that'll delay your races. So be careful. Do not over tighten that. Just give it nice and firm. And then also when you're tightening it, you need to have an equal tension on both sides so that this is moving in a straight line. You don't want it to wobble back and forth like that, okay? There's a little bit of a wobble in this one, but let's see if I can take it out a little bit. So now we have all of this in place, and what we're going to do is we're going to back out Now I'm going to turn to the left. I'm going to press in it and I'm going to turn it to the left and move this motor back, and so this pinion gear and this spur gear engage. Like that. And now we're going to, and then we're going to do the last part here, which is install this piece. We're going to slide it back down here where we had it before. It goes like that. And then we're going to grab one of these small screws. And you push this through here. Put this on like this. And then just tighten it. And then I always tighten it so it's just firm. You can probably still spin the nut like that, but that's good enough. And we want to make sure this isn't binding. There is a little bit of play in there. You know, it's not very much. It's like the thickness of my blade here. A little bit, yeah, about the thickness of the blade can go between there, okay? So it's very, very close. Also, I always flip this back so it turns all the way to the right, turn it all the way to the left. When you go all the way to the left, it's going to click. And then we'll put this on. So there we are. Now this, I always just put back on here. There is a fan inside this motor. This motor comes with a fan, and it's down inside here. It's a little white plastic fan, and you don't want to cover that up. You want the air to be able to flow through there. So when you're putting this on, be careful not to, you know, cover that up like that. This is a heat sink. It's going to take all the heat that is generated from this motor and distribute it out onto these wings here. This will be warm, but it should keep the motor cool while you're running it. So that is almost everything. We've got these couple pieces here yet to put on, if you remember that. And then let's see here, we've got these two to go on, and they're going to go on here. I'm going to just trim this a little bit here. This looks like there's a little nubbin there. Okay. Now, the reason we have these on here, this is one of the newer features, is when marbles are coming through here, you don't want the marbles to make this move up and down, right? We do not want it to go like this when it's running, and these will bolt it down to the frame. So let's go ahead and see if we can get some of those on. Again, we're going to be using these little needle nose pliers to get this on. All right, there's that one. Let's do the next one. Now that is not going anywhere, and we do that on both sides. Now, that is not moving anywhere, and that's what we want. That is beautiful. All right, we have not put these in. We should probably do that now. I'm gonna put this on this here, like this, and I'm gonna put some glue into this little hole right here. Or actually, you can put it right on the screw or the nut. like that. I'm going to be using my spray because it's my handy little spray. I love this stuff. There's one. Let's do the other one. I've got glue all over my fingers, so I can't hold anything anymore. Come on, get on there. There we go. And then again, we'll put some glue on this. Get my spray. Get over here and I try to hold these screws straight up and down so that the nut is straight up and down. So when we go to screw it in, it will be in the proper position. All right, we'll back that out. And then if you remember, we had these two little pieces here, and we're just gonna put some glue on these right here. And a little bit here and there, and get these glued on like that. I just put that in there to make sure that we don't get any glue in the threads. Okay, there's that one. And then we'll do the same with this one. Put that in. Just make sure no glue gets in those threads. I'm gonna run that screw in there and run it back out. Let's move all this stuff to the side now. And I'm gonna get the power supply plugged in so we can do some testing. All right, well, power supply, we just plug it in. It's pretty much the same thing as any power supply that you'd use for your computer or whatever. And then again, make sure we're all the way to the left, make it click it off. We'll plug it in right there. All right, and now when you turn it on, we should have some action. Awesome. And now we want to tune it so that it's working properly. We don't want it too tight. Let me show you what that sounds like. That is too tight. And this is too loose. There's a happy medium that's super quiet. Right there, you hear that? And that's what we want. And that's what it should sound like. It's not super quiet, but it's not super loud. My original design was, but this one is much quieter. And we're now ready for the final steps, and that is to put the lid on. Oops. There we go. And let me find those screws. Where are they? There's this one here. This one here. Just put them on. You don't They don't need to be super tight, but just hold the lid on. There you go, like that. And there you're done. There's your booster. Marbles will go in this way and come out this way. All right, well, thanks.